Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Buff Show. That was my very first intro.
That was good. That was awesome.
So today we're going to be talking about hiring a listing agent, someone to sell your home, and some of the things and questions you should ask them as you're doing an interview process on why you should pick them.
Yeah. Do you think, like, if you're a seller, you feel like every seller should talk to multiple agents?
100%.
Yeah.
And I would love for you to just talk to me, but because I'm the best. But you need to find out, same thing, who's the best, why they're the best for your area, for you, for your house. When we're going to get into the details of why.
Well, I mean, think about what you're doing too. Like, agents aren't cheap.
Nope.
And you're hiring somebody, like putting the trust of their home sale in their hands, or your home sale in their hands.
Mm-hmm.
And that backwards.
And I think, especially with a listing agent, because in that contract world, a buyer has so many outs throughout the contract process. A seller, when you go under contract, you are under contract. You don't get out.
Right.
Like you just ride the waves until the buyer makes their final decision.
Yeah.
So
no, that is true. So let's jump into it. All right, I will start. So these are just questions that you can ask the agent that you're interviewing. We got a handful of them, and then we'll kind of elaborate a little bit, but we're going to try and keep this under, I don't know, what, 20 minutes?
We're going to try, but bear with us. We'll cut it if we have to.
Okay, so the first things you should ask them about is their experience and track record. How long have they been in the real estate business? How many homes have they sold in the past year? And can they provide references or testimonials from past clients? So just what's their history in the business? So I think that's fairly self-explanatory. The reason that you're talking to them probably indicates that they've done something and they have some.
Somehow you've got a hold of them.
Right. So, but it would be good for them to tell their story.
Give a little more background into how and what they do in real estate to see if they fit your needs.
Yeah.
Big P?
Next one, local market knowledge. So what is your experience in selling homes in this neighborhood? Can you provide data on recent sales in the area? And how do you plan to market my home to potential buyers in this specific market? I think that's pretty big because it's like for me, like I grew up in Layton, I lived in the same house. Like I could sell any house in my neighborhood that I grew up in,
right?
You know, so I think that's huge for that local area,
right?
You know, and stuff like that.
Well, and there's some areas that are just hard to know exactly what's going on in, and it's important to have an agent that understands like why you'd want to live in that area. Like Ben, for example, Morgan loves it there.
Mm-hmm.
Like
lived there, played there, worked there.
Right. He can sell anybody on that all day long, but yeah.
Or I can tell you that it's not for you.
Right.
Because there's some people that come to Morgan and this is what they want and this is the thing, and I can honestly look at them and say, I would love to sell you a Morgan home.
Right.
But what your wants are, it's a different area.
Yeah. It's like homes on the golf course. Like you're a bigger golfer than I am.
Sure.
And like for me, like I don't understand that as much as you might, right?
Some people love it and some people hate it.
Right. So just finding somebody that can really, are they a good fit for selling the home, the lifestyle, the area?
And that's part of knowing their experience as well.
Right.
Marketing strategy. Okay, this one we're going to put a little bit of time into because it's the main part of the sell. What marketing tactics do you use to attract potential buyers? Do you utilize online marketing, social media, or other digital channels? How will you showcase my home's unique features and amenities? Okay, so I'm going to say right now, marketing is massive. I mean, not that long ago, you were still seeing agents put a house on the market and it was phone pictures.
I mean,
iPhone,
you still see it.
Well, I guess you still see it. That this is why we're doing this. So you're not the iPhone listing, right? Because we talk about you. No, but for real, what is their strategy? They should have so many different resources that they can offer to you, as well as which ones are free, which ones cost more, which ones will help in your specific situation. And it does matter specific to your home.
Yeah. Well, this is interesting because I want to ask you guys a question. What marketing strategies did they teach you in real estate school?
Nothing. They don't teach
nothing.
Not really. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Nothing.
Like it's all contract stuff.
They basically
like,
keep you from
great.
getting sued, and that's
Right.
Yep.
But they don't teach you about like how to utilize social media. And we're still like
It changes.
figuring it out, right?
It changes
like
too.
now it's like, I mean, okay. First with the marketing, you got to get the freaking photos right? At least
Mhm.
have a professional, like I'm not in there taking the photos.
Yep.
You're not. That's a no-no because we're not professional photographers.
No.
We're not professional stagers. We're not professional 3D
Cleaners
tours.
or handymen or
right.
I mean, there's so many. Like, you got to have. Well, that's why we know all the professionals and what you need for that house.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's like we have a beautiful listing coming up in Huntsville. It was recently built, I want to say like 3 years ago.
You see how Peyton's plugging this in right now?
Yeah.
That's marketing. He's constantly doing it. They're not even on the market yet, and he's plugging in, getting people warmed up.
But we did a walkthrough, pre-listing walkthrough, and gave them all a bunch of ideas on what they could do to spiff it up, spruce it up. A lived-in home is not a staged home. So you're gonna make it look different than if you were living there. And most people are still living there. But you got to rearrange stuff. You got to take down your family pictures. Like we could spend the whole podcast on this one thing alone,
Mhm.
but there's all these things and checklists and things that you can do to help your home sell better. It's like when me and Ben were dating, there wasn't Tinder and
Oh, okay. Sorry. That
I heard
like,
that. I
yeah, I
heard
heard
that
that
the
too.
same way.
me and Peyton were never dating.
we weren't dating.
When me and Peyton were in the dating game.
that's a better way to say it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we're older. But when we were in the dating world, there wasn't like Tinder
Mm-mm.
and Mutual and all these dating apps. But like nowadays, if you're trying to sell a house, you're in that online dating world.
Yep.
You gotta make it look the best you can, even sometimes better than it is in person, right?
The tricky photos. Everyone's seen them. And that's why a professional gets paid, because that's how you get someone to your home.
I mean, it's funny how many times buyers will walk into a house, they're like, oh, this is smaller than it looked like online.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, the photographer did a good job then, right?
Yep.
They want it to look big, spacious, highlight different areas. And so that's the goal of our marketing, is to get people through the door. And you can't, like, small things can cost you showings.
100%.
And you got to get that right. So that's staging, that's photos, videos, 3D tours, drone, highlighting the areas, showcasing what the amenities around the areas. We've been doing a lot with videos. Ben is actually, as much as he hates social media, he's a social media influencer.
Yeah, yeah.
We did a reel on one of his listings and it went viral.
So, I mean, if you want me to promote your product and stuff, just let me know. No, I'm just,
Yeah.
but for real, it is. And
How many views did that one get?
I stopped looking around 60,000.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
But
nuts.
here's the thing, that, and here to go toot my own horn again. I hate doing this. I hate being on camera. I hate it. I'm getting better, obviously. But an agent is going to turn with the times, right?
Yeah.
You have to, I mean, next week it could be something completely different. This might be illegal to do in our industry. You never
Right,
know.
yeah. Yeah.
So that strategy, they have to have something in place. Like, we could send them emails nonstop of what Mountain Buff does and the different angles that we market your home, but they have to have something ready to go and show you. So when you ask them that, if they just go, oh, we'll just put it on the MLS, maybe be a little leery, or tell them to expand a little bit more and figure out what other things they do or how they do it, or, different things like that.
Yeah. How they present the home.
Yeah. And that's one thing I'd like to add too. So like when I first got started, Peyton was telling me, he's like, because there was just like some things out there like saying like how the game is changing and stuff like that. And I was like, does this worry you? And he said, no, like, well, honestly, like, we'll be just fine, just because like we're apt to changing, where it's like a lot of like the old school agents, like, this is the way, and like, this is the way it's going to be,
Mhm.
So like, I think if we're like constantly showing that like we are changing and adapting, then I think that definitely sets us apart.
Well, it's so true, because I was at a conference when that was said, and the person talking was like, all you old time agents, do you know who you need to be worried about? It's the newer agents, the ones that are like in with the times, and they're on social media and they're on all these platforms that you're distant to or don't want to get on, because those are the people that's going to be taking your business. Even though they're younger and they might not have as much experience, they understand where the attention is nowadays. And it's all online. It's all on social media. And that's the thing that I like about Mountain Buff and what we do. Because we're independent brokerage, we can like do whatever we want. Like
Isn't that fun?
it is pretty fun. But like there's no like corporate saying, hey, you shouldn't be doing a podcast or you shouldn't do this or say that. Like we can kind of experiment with stuff. We've been doing a lot more video stuff on YouTube, and that's been going really well for us. Yeah. But like even like down to like, hey, let's do a podcast on this home. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like different things like that. Just thinking outside the box and what kind of marketing will move the needle. And we tweak it according to the listing. Like if one's not moving, we can always incorporate these other avenues to like make it showcase different. And that's the nice thing is we are very out of the box.
Well, and customizable. The marketing package needs to be customized to the area, to the home, and even to the seller.
Mm-hmm.
Some sellers can't do and don't want the stress and of different events, timing.
Yeah.
So it's very customizable, but an agent needs to have that in their arsenal.
Yeah. I feel like you're interviewing me on like why you should hire me to sell your house. Oh, right. Well, I need to stick to the questions. Okay.
Sorry.
Pricing strategy. So how do you determine the list price for a home? Can you provide a competitive market analysis or a CMA to support your pricing recommendation? And what strategies do you use to ensure my home is priced competitively? This is a big one because, of course, everybody would want to sell their home for $10 million.
Of course.
But just because an agent says that doesn't mean that's what you're going to get. So say, where do you feel like my home should be priced? And why do you feel like that? And then have them walk through their thought process. And if an agent is saying your home is worth this, like that's a dangerous, like I give my clients like, here's a high, medium, and a low range, because even appraisers, like you could bring 5 appraisers through a property and every one of them is going to appraise that home at a different valuation.
And the more expensive that property is, the wider that gap gets.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And everything changes that. So you sit down and you get a price at the start of this listing. By the time you actually get to the for sale part, price can go up or down.
Yeah.
By the time you actually get to the, someone under contract, the value of it could have gone way down or way up. It just depends on what the market's doing, life's doing, political.
When I just lost out on a listing, meeting with some sellers, and when they listed it 100 and like just under 150,000 higher than my high price. And I'm like, this will be interesting to watch, to see.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I was very like, this is why these are the comps. And it's just interesting how fast the market fluctuates, changes. And sometimes you can get lucky with a high, like just shooting for the stars. But again, it's like few and far between.
Yep.
Most of the time you end up shooting yourself in the foot because the longer the property's sitting, like you're doing more damage than you are good.
All right. So that pricing strategy is a big one that everyone should have something on.
Yeah.
Communication and availability. So this is another one that goes on all sides of the agents. How often we provide updates on the status of my listing. That's huge. Communication on what's going on so I don't have to ask. What is the best way to reach you if I have questions or concerns? And this is just personal to me. These guys might think different. But as an agent, I should be able to be reached, text, email, or call. And if I can't be, then I should have already let you know why I couldn't be. And if there's an emergency, who you can talk to.
Yeah.
So,
no,
and
that's
then
key.
Will you be personally handling the sale or you delegate it to someone else on your team? That happens. There's people that'll come in and they'll razzle dazzle you. And as soon as you sign it, they'll step out and someone else will. And you can't ever hear from them. You don't have that point of contact.
Which I think it's important. Like it's good to have, like you have to be comfortable with the team. You don't want to have somebody take you on and then like you never hear from them again. But
Sure.
if they have, if they're busy and they're doing a good job, chances are they're going to be busy in business and they're going to have multiple clients that they're serving and stuff. And they might be harder to reach. That's where you want them to have an assistant or a secretary or somebody that you can reach if they're not available. So, and then are you comfortable with their team too? because that's how we are structured. We do have we have office staff and people that you can get a hold of if you can't get a hold of Ben or Parker or me. And so that is huge. And then just like weekly updates, like I'm a big fan of weekly updates on listings, like, hey, this just sold, this just got listed, because that's always changing as well.
What does that mean for you and your listing type of thing? Or
Yeah.
could it mean?
Yeah. Like we have a listing actually just this week. The lot next door just listed for like 60,000 less, almost 75,000 less than what we're
Holy
listed
cow.
at. And
Wow.
we're like, yeah, we're going to pull it off, reset it. And because there's no point, they're very similar properties. If somebody's going to buy one, it's most likely going to be the other one.
Sure.
So we pulled it. But without that insight and that consistent follow-up, the sellers likely aren't scanning the market right there and watching that all the time. So, okay, number 6, is that you?
That's me. Number 6, negotiation skills. How do you approach negotiations with potential buyers? Can you provide examples of successful negotiations you facilitated in the past? And what strategies will you use to maximize my sell price and terms? I think that's big, just because you don't want some agent that's just going to be a pushover, just saying, yeah, sure. Yeah. Like my buyer, my sellers, they'll accept that.
Right.
And yeah, perfect.
Sounds
good to me.
Yeah.
You want someone to properly represent what your needs and desires and wants are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that's how, as a buyer's agent as well, how they give you the best offer they can give.
Well, think about this: negotiation skills. Like you have an agent, they list your house, and right when you list any house, there's quite a bit of activity. It's new, it's exciting, and depending on how an agent handles that, let's say there's 5 showings that weekend, and that agent is calling every one of those agents that it's showing that their listing, saying, "Hey, what'd you think? We've had a few other showings this weekend. If you're interested, keep me posted because this is getting quite a bit of interest." And instantly he's bumping up to that buyer's agent, this is a hot commodity.
Yep.
It's not just sitting. He has that communication there, and he's getting a feel for the buyers. What's your buyer situation? If they're buyers, they're relocating. Let's say he found out this piece of info. They're buyers, they're relocating for a job, and they have to be into a place by May. Those buyers are going to be willing to pay more if they love the house. Right. There's just little things that if you're listening as an agent, you'll be like, ooh.
The nuances of the desperation or the non-desperation someone has.
Or if an agent says, yeah, my clients love the house. Grandma lives 2 houses up. I'm like,
perfect.
Yeah.
Well,
just what I needed to hear.
And you've got to be careful because you can nuance back.
Right.
Oh yeah, they really got to get moved out to this place, or they took a new job.
Yeah.
Why are the sellers moving?
Right.
That's one of those trap questions,
What are the sellers looking for? Yep. What do they want to see in an offer? Things like that. So you got to have that communication with your agent, make sure they understand what is allowed for them to say to potential buyers and their agents. And then make sure they're getting you that feedback. Because if you just get a random offer and you're like, hey, we got an offer for $1 million, it's $100,000 less, but it's more than there's nobody else offering.
Right.
That's not a good spot to be in.
Right. Another thing too on the negotiating skills is the vetting of the buyer. You as a seller's agent and should make sure that buyer and that buyer's agent are qualified to even make this purchase happen.
Right.
So you don't lock your seller in a contract that's not going to go anywhere, and it's just been looky-looed, and they're trying to figure it out after the fact.
Yeah.
So
vetting the lender, getting proof of funds, all that stuff.
So,
yeah. The negotiation skills is huge. And then if you know your comps, the market data, if you get this lowball offer and you're like, hey, 2 houses up sold for this, and here's why we're priced here, and these are the upgrades. And then not only that, negotiation skills with the appraiser. Another huge hurdle for sellers is getting past that appraisal.
Yep.
And what sellers don't realize is it's not illegal for agents to talk to the appraiser.
It's actually being used as a tool for appraisers to be able to pull other market data to help justify what prices are in the area.
Yeah. So whenever we have an appraiser that's going through a property, I like to prepare a packet for them just saying, hey, here's all the info we gathered during the listing process. Here's the activity, the offers we received. Here's the upgrades that the seller's done. Because the appraisers will go in and out of a house in 3 minutes.
Yep.
They'll take pictures, measure, and then they're out of there. And if like they might not realize that there's this huge feature or additional parcel or like different things that they're not picking up on. And so if your agent is preparing this synopsis of what they've gathered, it makes it that much easier for the appraiser to hit that mark.
Or even a house down the street that's just went under contract.
Right.
Very similar for more than you're asking.
Yeah.
Something like that'll help justify
or a sell
or
in
get it higher.
in the neighborhood that never sold and never published on the MLS that the appraiser might not know of, or like there's just so many things that you're like, this piece of data is a game changer for that seller.
And that's a nuance in and of itself, because you as an agent, you can, for lack of a better term, piss off an appraiser.
Yeah.
So you got to dance the dance with agents, appraisers, lenders. So
I've only had one lender that was like, "What, you don't think I can do my job?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just trying to like facilitate it, make it easier for you."
I just want to make sure that you can do your job, so I don't put mine in a bad spot.
Right. Yeah. And 95% of the appraisers are like, "Thank you. This is actually helpful. Makes my job easier."
Yep, exactly.
So even down to like helping other agents, like, "Hey, here's the data we looked at, our CMA report, this comp, these upgrades." I don't see very many listing agents like providing like home features on the house. Like these are the upgrades, pointing out stuff like selling the property.
That's exactly selling it.
Right.
I use carsman them,
Yeah.
tell at least have the information available when asked for.
Right. So they're not, I wonder when the roof was replaced.
Exactly.
Well, it's a brand new roof. Like it's a big deal, Okay. My turn.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So fees and terms. What is your commission rate and what services are included? Are there any additional fees or expenses I should be aware of? Can you explain the terms of the listing agreement and any cancellation policies? This is huge.
Yeah, this is a podcast.
This is a podcast in and of itself. So as a seller, and when you're hiring a listing agent, you'll sign what's called a listing agreement. In there, it's going to talk about what the commission rate is. And again, commissions are all negotiable.
100%.
So what services they're going to include. And then are there any additional fees or expenses that they should be aware of? I know there's some brokerages that charge like additional closing fees and stuff like that on top of
Their commission.
And then if things don't go the way you want them to go, how do you get out of the contract? Most ERSs, exclusive right to sales, are like you're locked in for that time period. If you bring them a buyer, you're owed a commission if it's for what you were asking. And one thing that I feel like we do a good job is it's a little bit more open-ended. If sellers aren't happy with the service that they're receiving on our end, like we can have a conversation, and like we're never wanting to hold anybody under the gun of you have to use us, right?
100%.
If we're not doing a good job for you, let's talk.
Yep.
So any other things you guys would add in there?
I think the fees and terms are something that you should worry about a little bit more after you've gone through a lot of these other steps. If the agent is good and has all of these things, that way you need to know all that stuff. So when you do talk about their fees and terms, you know what those fees are getting you, why you're getting them, what they're paying for, additional expenses and fees to be aware of. I think that's a big one, that if there's additional fees and expenses, it should just be because you want extra stuff on top of a package they're already offering.
Mm-hmm.
Like staging a house is super expensive, but some luxury homes, it could be what was that one? $3,000, $4,000 for a month. So certain things like that to watch out for,
and some can be a lot more than that too, depending on how big the house is. Going along with the fees and terms, commission rate, like you can find a variety of different commission rates that agents are going to offer. There's anything from discount to partial to full service brokerages. And we're definitely more on the full service side. But if you have an agent that's going to charge you 6% to sell your house, and somebody else that's going to charge you 4 or 4.5 or 5, whatever that number is, figure out why. A lot of people just look at, oh, they're 1% less or 2% less here. But like, what is that going to mean to your sales price? There's a reason that full service brokerages charge more. A lot of times they're including more in their marketing, and they're spending more money on the marketing, and there's no guarantee that they're going to get it back, right?
Oh, yeah. If it doesn't sell, we don't get paid.
Right. So there's listings we'll invest thousands of dollars into with no guarantee that we're going to ever recoup that money unless we sell it. So of course it's in our best interest to sell it. And I'm not a fan of discounting commissions, because then I feel like I'm not going to help you with staging, or I'm not going to do the drone, or I'm not going to do the 3D tour, or these different things. Like, it just turns into like a bitter experience because I'm not funded, right? It's not
You don't go to war without money.
right.
But that's a dramatic statement. But in order to make it give for me personally, in order for me to, because we spend so much more, probably more than the average broker
100%.
for sure.
Yeah.
But if you're not making money, it, like you said, it becomes bitter. We probably wouldn't even agree to do a deal with you,
Right.
because we want to give you the best. And if you get the best, you sell for the highest. You sell for the highest,
And
it's
you
worth,
sell, and you sell faster.
it pays for itself.
Yeah. So if you're looking, just keep in mind, you can battle agents on their fees and what they're going to charge you to sell your house, or you can ask them, what are you going to do to get me the highest price possible? Because most of the time, by doing some staging, it might cost the agent $3,000 to stage your house or do something like that, if they're even offering it to you. But that might net you even more,
$20,000 higher.
right, on the sales price. So it's like give and take in these areas. And I'm a firm believer that most of the discounts, throw it up on the MLS, take pictures with my phone, I
forget
could get
about you.
them a lot more money with the marketing package that we have to offer and the processes and systems that we have in place, that they would get a much better sales price that they'd be happy with versus the difference that they'd be saving in the lower commissions.
And I think the key is, yes, commissions are negotiable. But here's the thing. If an agent's willing to give away his soul to sell your house, he's desperate.
Right.
Case in point, there is extenuating circumstances where certain things make sense to do a discount. But most often than not, you're getting a discount product.
Right.
Make sure you're apples to apples, oranges to oranges.
And I think as you dig, you'll find out that you're most likely not. So I think the question comes down to is, what kind of experience are you looking for? Are you looking for a discount experience where you're taking on a lot of the legwork and want just something more sloppy, or do you want something that's a better experience? What kind of car are you wanting to ride in?
I have a quick story on that. I had a listing. It was back when I was starting. It was a friend, and he'd been in business. He knows the game, and he looked at me at the start of the process, and I was new too, and I didn't know the rules, and it was a good friend, and he goes, I just can't see paying you that much to sell my house. And when it was about 3/4 of the way through, we weren't even under contract yet. He first apologized because, he was ignorant about it. He first apologized, and he goes, I didn't realize how much and how involved you actually were. And this guy's bought real estate before. He's been in business, but he didn't realize the process. He didn't know what he was getting.
Yeah.
And I wasn't good enough at that time to explain what I was going to offer to him to justify it for myself.
Right.
And then at the closing table, they ended up paying a full commission because of what they had gotten.
Yeah.
Which was like, that's at first when we start talking about commissions, it's like it's hard to ask for what you're worth. But after that, I'm like, no, I do know now that what we do is
Yeah.
worth, like the headache, the time that you don't see is worth what we're asking for. We're not trying to gut anybody, but that we do that so we can give you the best experience that we can offer.
Yeah. And get you the highest sales price. And that's really the best win-win. We get paid what we're worth, and we maximize what you're able to get out of your house. And if you cut corners, like I just find both parties are
Suffering.
Yeah. They're
Yep.
just like, I'm not going to do this marketing for you, and I'm not going to put that much time into it. And then the seller ends up getting a lower sales price. So just some things to be aware of. Timeline and process. You got that, Big P?
You look
Sorry,
at me,
it is Ben. Sorry.
Yes, timeline and process. So how long do you anticipate it will take to sell my home? What steps will be involved in the selling process from listing to closing? And can you walk me through the typical timeline for selling a home in this market? And I've seen that just like, especially like I was talking to my parents about this. Like they've lived in their same house ever since I was a newborn. Like they've been there for 26 years.
Dang.
And so they like, when I started, in this industry, they're like, what is the process? Like we don't even remember. Like my grandpa was the general contractor on their house. So like they didn't have like a traditional like sales process.
Yeah.
And so I think that's huge, just to even explain to your people, just like this is what to expect. And then like we've talked about, just even in the office, like you should be telling your people like before it happens, like what to expect. That way they're not questioning everything you're doing.
And then how long do you anticipate it'll take to sell my home? I like to hit on that one. This is a catch-22 question, because every home, every person changes the process, changes the timeline, changes, the area itself changes the timeline. If I'm selling something, out in Timbuktu, it's going to be harder to sell historically. But what happens a lot of times is you guess with the market analysis that we can gather, we give an estimated time frame, and a lot of times it doesn't matter. It depends on where you price the home. Is it competitive? Is it
a perfect buyer out there?
Exactly. So keep that in mind. What you're really looking for when you ask that question is, have they looked into it? Are they researching what the possibilities for you could be?
Well, and are they working with you or just like telling you what to do? Like we take the approach of, hey, educating them on with feedback, market data, what's going on, new listings in the neighborhood, new sales, like giving them the data and then working through that decision-making process with them.
Yep.
And not being like, hey, this happened, so you need to do this. Because like at the end of the day, the client gets to decide what their plan of action is. So our job is to educate them based on the data that we're gathering and our past experiences on what they should do in this situation. And hopefully between our experience and market knowledge and data, like they'll be able to, and recommendations, they'll be able to make a good decision that's going to be best for their family, right? Did you have something else?
Yeah, I was just going to say like, and this is one thing that Ben's told me is like, don't be the hero. Like don't come in and tell them that it's going to be a 2-week sale. It's going to make yourself look bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think just be more realistic and kind of give them like their full spread of options.
Right. Because at the end of the day, we don't know how it's going to go.
It takes a blind guess sometimes.
Yeah.
I just can't tell you how many variables affect a buy and a sell of a house. And we can give you a general rule of thumb. And a lot of times it follows that, but there's always, I don't even want to call them one-offs, like every third one off.
Yeah.
Someone's going to come in and offer you $1 billion for your home and it's going to be great. Or for some reason, nobody likes it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because the one next door is identical. And,
yeah. And they got 5 offers.
Exactly. So it does change with every offer.
Yeah. That is a funny thing to say, because it's like the homes that I'm like, oh, this will be gone in 2 seconds. It takes way longer. And the homes that I'm like, this is going to be a challenge. It's gone in 2 seconds. But
Weird. So references and testimonials. Can you provide a reference from past clients? Do you have any testimonials or reviews I can review? Have you worked with sellers in similar situations to mine?
Those are good.
Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
This goes back to basically, do you have experience?
Yeah.
And do you have experience in my specific situation?
Yeah. But that's where like we've really focused on getting Google reviews, getting some video testimonials. And like, I'm happy to send you a number, like multiple clients that anybody can reach out to and call and be like, hey, what was the process like working with?
Give me your true thoughts on this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Tools or technology and tools. Do you utilize any specific technology or tools to market properties or to communicate with clients? Are you proficient in online platforms and social media for real estate marketing? And how do you leverage technology to streamline the selling process? This is crazy. Like just even with AI.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm like, man, there's so much that you can do. Like we're digitally staging rooms that are empty now. Like if there's no furniture in a room, I'm like, ooh, we can have fun with that one. Yeah. Same with like listing write-ups. Like I'm having ChatGPT help with like writing up the listing. Like I come up with the basic overview, and then it just like really gets it to where it's good.
Sure. And I think the technologies that we're talking about is like you're professionals, right?
Right.
Like, yeah, we can fly a drone. Yeah, we can take pictures. but you watch a professional fly the drone around your property. You watch how they do a 3D tour and what they can do with that, the digital staging. We are the leaders in our industry. And if we're not that, we know how to get in contact and hire the leaders in our industry to get what you need in technology wise. It's
Yeah.
just insane.
Mhm.
Well, it's funny. Like I have a good camera, I have a good drone, but like I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm-
And we
I'm
still
not-
have to pay a
Right.
camera guy
I know.
to help us do all this and line it up and make us look intelligent and
Yeah.
cut out Big P's mistakes he's been having all day.
Yeah.
You know, so
Well, I think this is like a really good overview of what you can ask listing agents. And like we said, hopefully you're talking to a few of them, seeing who's the best fit, who you relate to the most. That's one thing we didn't really cover is just like, who do you feel like you're going to have the best experience with and working with as well?
yeah.
Whose personalities do you align with and who are you going to have the most fun with?
And I think we talk about personality and vibes. It's that comfort level, I think, sometimes to discuss hard things,
Yeah.
right? Everyone can be chummy and friends with someone. But if I have an issue with my agent, I want to feel comfortable enough with them to be able to tell them.
For sure.
Or if I don't like something, or if I really like something and I want you to do more of it, I want to be comfortable to come with you and have that discussion of, hey, I like this, do more of it, and have him or her be able to tell me, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it. And
Yeah.
we come to a conclusion on what we want.
Well, and somebody that's not judging you, like how many houses do we go in that are messy? And it's like,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
living here. Like you should see my house. I have 4
Yeah.
kids. Like Summit peed in Kadri's closet this morning when I was
Yes.
leaving to work. And it's just like, it's life,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Or husband and wife arguing over which house they like better, or, you know, like
Yep.
it gets hard, right? And we don't want you to be like, we're there to experience this journey with you, not judge you. Like we get it. Like,
It happens more than often than you think. Yep.
We've been in those disagreements in the houses or what you should offer. Typically, the wife loves it, doesn't care what it's going to cost, and the husband's like, "I got to pay for this, or I got to figure out what I'm doing here." Or vice versa.
And sometimes you have to have those fights in the moment. Like,
yeah,
if you can't be comfortable enough to kick your husband in the shin or like shake your wife and be like, come back to reality,
yeah,
you know, that has to happen then. And if you're nervous, it makes it hard for us to help you get to where you need to get to if we don't know the real emotion. So comfort is huge.
yeah. So if you need, Ben's a great punching bag.
I am.
So
like I said, I do what I'm told when I'm told to do it, how I'm told to do it.
But no, hopefully this is a good overview for you guys when you're looking for an agent to sell your house. And anything else you guys want to add in there before we tune out?
Not that I can think of.
Overview, very much an overview. Once you pick an agent, you can go into weeks and asking
Yeah.
and learning and talking. So
Well, I feel like anytime I meet with sellers, like they ask me, what are you going to do to sell the house? And I'm like, that's just such a hard question.
Right.
Like, where do I start?
like I'm going to geek out on you and you're
Yeah.
going to gloss over.
Like, what do you want to know? What are your main concerns? So just communication's huge. And hopefully this is a good outline for you guys to know where to start. And if you have any other questions for us, we'd be happy to reach out. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah. That's why we're videoing right now. That's why Big P's sweating over here in his suit coat.
So you guys call us when you think about selling. But if you don't, I still hope it's helpful.
And I hate you
Yeah.
if you don't. So no big deal.
Tuning out.
Bye.